Hello, drivers are being warned of treacherous conditions tonight as temperatures tumble after a day of snow. According to the experts, today was expected to be the busiest day for travelling of the whole Christmas holiday. Then the winter weather swept in.
We've got a live travel bulletin coming up, but let's start with schools. And across the region, more than 1,300 schools were closed, ending their terms early. For air travellers, most of the problems have been at Luton, where more than 50 flights have been cancelled. The airport was closed until 10 o'clock this morning. At Stansted, there have been a handful of cancellations and delays of around 2 hours on some flights. Meanwhile, Norwich Airport has been operating normally. On the railways, there are still delays and disruption on National Express East Anglia, First Capital Connect, the East Coast Main Line and East Midlands trains. The worst affected are the Norwich to London line and the Stansted Express, which have several cancellations. The snow and high winds have also played havoc with power lines and substations across the east. Thousands of homes lost power. EDF Energy said this afternoon about 10,000 were still without supply and around 1,200 of those were likely to go overnight. Our first report is from Alex Dunlop.
John New never got to work today. It gets worse. He didn't even get home yesterday. He was stuck on the A14 near Ipswich all night.
I've been here over 7 or 8 hours now.
What have you been doing? I mean,
just sitting here, just absolutely sitting here. I've been phoning my girlfriend back at home and just keeping the spirits up, you know.
Despite extensive gritting, there have been scores of minor accidents on the A505. A local farmer had to help out this lorry driver get back on the road.
I don't think the local authorities have done enough this morning because, as I say, we haven't seen one gritter, one plough. As you can see, we're on the 505. There's one lane open.
Up to 6 inches of snow fell in places. This, the A1 in Cambridgeshire. It closed briefly after a lorry jackknifed near Biggleswade. Look East viewer Jane Scudder captured Southend in the morning rush hour. Worst hit was Essex, where some drivers had to abandon their cars. By mid-morning, police had dealt with 300 snow-related incidents. Luton Airport was closed this morning. Tonight, a handful of flights are taking off, but one passenger told me the situation there was chaotic.
The extended delay has been caused because of the winds. Obviously, when you have planes landing on the runway at 180 miles an hour, safety is the number one priority. So we understand the situation has been difficult.
On the trains, services are subject to delays, but all lines are still open. On the last day of term, hundreds of schools closed, including this primary in Norfolk. But parents still turned up.
The electricity's just this minute come on.
Homes nearby had suffered a power cut, so they couldn't get the latest news.
A lot of people would normally, go online or they listen to the radio and, so those normal lines of communication are down. So some people are only finding out by turning up this morning.
The energy supplier EDF has brought in extra crews to restore supplies, but one customer has lost patience.
Every single time there's a bit of wind or a bit of weather, we have a power cut, and it really makes me very angry.
In North Norfolk, a local theatre had to put up 30 members of the audience who were trapped by the snow. Patricia Parkinson did manage to drive home to Bedford, but it took her almost 7 hours.
The car was swerving. The snow was so heavy, you could see no more than a metre in front of you. And at that point, it was very frightening.
The Queen at least managed to make it back from London to Sandringham, just in time for what could be a picture postcard Christmas. Alex Dunlop, BBC Look East.
Well, that's what happened so far. Let's talk to Terry Doyle at Traffic Master now to find out what's happening this evening. How's the traffic moving tonight, Terry?
It's a completely different situation. It's much quieter than it has been today, and it would seem that the weather is making people stay at home this evening. The current situation is much normal, much quieter than a Friday evening. We're seeing some delays on the M1, which is pretty normal. That's around Northampton. We've got one major incident in the Colchester area still, which is the A120, and that having a knock-on effect for the Colchester area in general and also on the A12. But overall, generally, we're seeing a very quiet scene this evening. It is possible that the Christmas rush may start tomorrow, and we have difficulty with ice overnight, so the roads could be treacherous tomorrow morning.
So if people aren't travelling tonight, and it is reckoned to be the busiest day of the year, they're going to be travelling over the next 24 hours or so. So what should people be looking out for? And those roads are going to get busy again.
They're going to get busy again. If we have the same situation this morning like we saw on the A12 in the Colchester area, we were looking at lots of different little incidents causing very long queues. There was 8 incidents along the stretch between Colchester and Chelmsford. If we see that again tomorrow morning, we could see lots of very long queues caused by lots of minor accidents.
And the message, I presume, is the same as we always say at this time of year: if you don't have to travel, don't travel.
That is pretty much the situation.
Good. Well, we hope it stays running smoothly this evening. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
People across the region woke up to several challenges as schools were closed and roads were blocked, and some were even without power. Look East reporter Fatima Manji has spent the day in the Cambridgeshire village of Swavesey to see how one community coped with the weather.
That's spot on.
Thank you. In Swavesey, they're calling it the wartime spirit. With no power, the whole village has come to buy batteries. But it isn't easy trying to run a shop.
It's been very fraught this morning. The paper boys arrived on time as normal, so they delivered all the papers to the village, which we thought was really good of them. It's just the fact you only realise now how much you need electricity. You know, the till is electric, so we're doing everything by hand, having to write everything down.
But life goes on. At the hairdressers, it's business as usual, minus the hairdryer. 14 hours without electricity and the pubs still serving drinks by candlelight. And with schools closed, there's time for a bit of fun. Of course, it's not all fun and games. Having no electricity is having a serious impact.
Well, we're all sitting around the gas stove trying to keep warm at the moment and just hope it doesn't go on much longer because we'll run out of hot water.
Freezing. Yeah, my husband's ill in bed with flu. It's very difficult to get him hot drinks and sort of look after him, so it's quite difficult. I'll be pleased when it comes back on.
And 3-month-old Emily hasn't been enjoying the blackout.
It was horrendous. It would just be really, really helpful if we could have had some sort of emergency contact. So in those situations, it's not so bad for the older children, but obviously for a baby. We had to get her a cold bottle straight from the fridge without heating it, which she didn't want to drink at all. So all through the night, Emily was screaming.
There's been a real sense of community spirit in Swavesey today. Most of the village does now have power, but some houses still don't, and the cold and dark could be very dangerous for the vulnerable. Fatima Manji, BBC Look East, Swavesey.
Well, in a moment, a county-by-county guide of what the weather did to you where you live, including disruption to the weekend sport.
In the last of Look East